Understanding how consumers behave in the marketplace and how they make their decision is of central relevance to marketing. That is, the extent to which you have a good understanding about what moves your customer and what motivates them often determines whether you're successful in the marketplace, meaning it determines whether you're able to sell your products or not. My name is Daniel Wentzel and I'm Professor of Marketing, and I will teach the course Consumer Behavior in the coming semester. So what are we going to do in the course? So the course will look at consumer behavior in very great detail. That is, we will really try to understand what moves people, how they make their decisions. So some of the topics that we will talk about, for example, include how do people make decisions between competing options, meaning you have product A and product B, you have an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy. How do people actually make the corresponding trade-offs? Another very important topic that we're going to talk about is the extent to which people are influenced by their emotions. So if you look at what really they argue and discuss in economics, is they often say that we're really rational decision makers. Well, actually that's not true. We're very much guided by our emotions, and we'll try to understand how people are driven by their emotions and how it will affect the decisions they will make at the end of the day. Importantly, this is an article that's coming more from a theory perspective, right? So there will be no textbook to speak of. We will solely talk about academic journal articles. Most of these articles will come from the marketing disciplines, but some of them will also come straight out of the psychology literature. Now, what we'll do in the course, in each session, we'll take about 2 to 3 articles, and we'll really discuss about these articles in a great level of detail. Now, I'm very much focused on interaction, so I will expect that you have read at least one of these articles beforehand and know what I'm talking about. Now, this will of course make the course a lot more demanding than other courses that you will be used to, but on the other hand, it will also make it a lot more interesting because you can argue at a much greater and more specific level of detail. Now, the grading of the course will consist of 2 different elements. So on the one hand, there will be a typical exam at the end of the course, which will account for 50% of the final grade. Now, the other part of the grading is based on a group work, where I will ask you to work together in groups and develop an experimental design on your own. So we'll talk about that a bit later. Now, what kind of topics are we going to cover in the course? So in the beginning, there will be a very brief introduction to consumer behavior. What is it actually we're going to talk about? Now, the 2 sessions following after that are quite important because we will talk about experimental design. So it will be a course, or will be two courses or 2 lectures focusing on the method. Now, this will be very important for you to understand what we're going to talk about in the articles afterwards. Now, it will also be very, very important for your own group project. So you can't or you shouldn't really miss these 2 classes. So once we cover the basic ground, we will go into more detailed topics. So we'll talk about variety-seeking behavior. We will talk about endowment effects. We will talk about emotional decision-making. So we're really going to go do a deep dive in certain topics. Now, again, let's talk about the course and about the grading and the different elements of the course. So I talked about the lecture. Now, this is a very important element because it relates also back to the exam. Now, the most important part of the lecture actually is the one where I'm not going to be present, which is the group work. Now, what's going to happen there is you will form small groups of people, say anything between 5 to 6 students, and on a topic of the lecture, so one of the specific topics of the lecture, I will ask you to develop an experimental design of your own, right? So what I want you to do is look at the articles and come up with your own idea. So what is it that these people, the researchers of the articles, may have not considered? So do you have an additional idea that could be done? Now, I want you to spell out the design. I want you to spell out the idea and tell me how you're going to conduct the experiment. Now, why am I asking you to do this? I'm asking you to do this because this will really take your level of knowledge to a much higher level, to a much higher degree, right? Now, I'm not so much interested in getting you to know the material. I'm much more interested in enabling you to come up with your own ideas, which means not only are you able, do you learn about the topics that we discuss, you're also able to form your own opinion and reflect critically on the material in the class. And you do that and you show that by coming up with your own ideas. So that's actually the most exciting part of the course from my perspective, the one that I always, most look forward to. Now, at the very end, I just want to take a brief moment to talk about why should you come to the course, right? So what can you take away from it? Now, the first level, I obviously want to familiarize you with current knowledge in consumer behavior, right? And I also want to show you how you can use this knowledge afterwards for solving real-life marketing problems. Now, that's a content perspective. Now, on a second level, on a more abstract level, I really want to enable you to improve your critical thinking abilities and your ability to solve complex marketing problems and to form your own opinion about, what constitutes a good problem, what doesn't constitute a good problem, and why that is the case. So probably I think the latter aspect actually more important than the first aspect. So that's it for me. So should you decide to enlist in the course and learn more about consumer behavior, I will be very glad to see you there. Okay, thank you very much.